All right, Adam and I back for practice number 2 of fall camp, and nice warm day, and Mel Tucker enjoying the sunshine, I'm sure, but really enjoying the fact that leaders are emerging right now.
Yeah, it makes sense in the spring. A new staff comes in.
Yeah.
Even guys that have playing experience here are going to kind of step back and try to make a case for themselves and get their spot established on the depth chart. But, you know, this staff evaluated these guys and knows what they can do, at least the guys returning. And so they could kind of then transition into a leadership role. Kept hearing about Nate Landman and all off season. And yeah, I think the summer kind of breeds the atmosphere. Yeah, they meet with the coaches a few hours here and there, but it's really on them, and that's when the leaderships emerge. And you can tell Mel Tucker, has been honest with us with things since he got here, and you can tell when he talks about the leadership that it's genuinely getting better here.
Yeah, he mentioned Katie Nixon specifically, really stepping up as a leader and showing that on the field out here, helping guys with reps and things like that before doing his own work. So lots of guys emerging, and you talk about that kind of being team ownership, and that's kind of a big deal. Steven Montez talked to us a little bit today, and he mentioned he thinks this is the best condition CU's been for a fall camp since 2016, which CU fans probably love to hear that. But we've heard a lot about this offseason program, but everybody keeps saying that they're in pretty good condition.
I'd like to know exactly how it's more difficult. We just keep hearing that it is more difficult. And it's not like Mike McIntyre didn't try to field a conditioned team, but maybe it is part of the aspect of having a head coach come in that you've got to impress, and you're not going to take it easy when you're trying to earn your spot on the depth chart.
Yeah, and maybe it's probably just a little bit of change as well. Maybe it feels different, but certainly these guys are buying in. I think that's kind of the big thing we're hearing throughout this offseason, but through these first 2 days of camp, is guys seem to be buying in to Mel Tucker and this staff right now.
And I like the fact that Mel Tucker's the first 2 days come in his intro and talked about guys that have stood out. It makes our job easy. Yeah. Today he talked about 2 freshmen, actually. Jaren Mangum, who I had a chance to talk to, had a really good spring game and has a lot of confidence. And obviously Naeem Rodman, who we talked about briefly yesterday. That's the second day in a row we've heard someone talk about him as a freshman. He talked about they're going to have an 8-9 man rotation there. I thought it was interesting too. He talked about the running back competition. We know there's not a whole lot separating a Jaren Mangum from an Alex Fontenot and a Deion Smith, and he put it out there. What's going to separate those guys is who has good ball security and who can pass protect. So that's the aspects where I think Jaren Mangum, even as a true freshman, if he shows he can do that, I could see him being the lead guy.
Well, those are 2 positions that are going to need young guys to step up. You talked to Jaren. What were your impressions talking with him?
Confident young man. This is somebody that had the size to be a linebacker coming out of high school. Actually had quite a few scholarship offers for that position, but he says he's honest about it. He loves scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
And so he actually leaned up a little bit going into his senior year. And that was something that surprised me. He had a ton of offers as a bigger back. And then his senior film, you saw a little bit more explosiveness. He got down to about 215, and standing there talking to him today, he's a pretty lean frame, but does still have some good muscle on that structure. So it's hard not to get excited about his potential.
Yeah, Mangum is one of those freshmen I think everybody's looking forward to seeing. Naeem Rodman, Austin Williams, Mark Perry, or a couple of the others. But, mentioned KD, Steven talked to us. Both those guys sound like things are going well. And, KD, talks about blocking. He keeps talking about those receivers blocking. And Mel Tucker mentioned, again, he said, hey, those guys know they're not going to get targets if they don't block. So there's certainly a standard being set at every position, isn't there?
Yeah. And how about Katie Nixon giving up girls? That's another level of dedication right there. So but you always love hearing him talk. His personality is as good as it gets. But yeah, telling the receivers flat out, you're not going to get the ball unless you block, is going to give those guys the motivation I think they need. And Chev has that leaderboard in there, and we didn't hear a whole lot about that after 16.
Yeah.
Curious to hear how much we hear about that this year.
Yeah, it was such a big deal in that 2016 team, but not much since then. Another guy I talked to was James Stefano, one of the more ripped kickers in the country, I've got to think. But he just real quick, he's in great shape. He says he feels better than he's ever felt, stronger than he's ever felt, and looking forward to a big year. Obviously injured last year, came out like gangbusters his freshman year, but looking forward to a big year. So the Buffs hoping obviously they have a solid kicking game there.
Yeah, and we talked about in the spring, I felt really bad for him last year. He really was not healthy going into the season, and just because his 80% was, or even less than that, I don't know what it was, but even him not at 100% was better than what they had, so he had to go out there, and front of all those fans at Nebraska when you're not 100%. That's not the best situation. So to hear he's healthy is great, and I appreciate his accuracy. They were kicking the field goals at the end of practice, and my car was kind of in the line of fire if he had gone right on any of those. And he seemed to make all his field goals, so that was appreciated by me.
Yeah, I was parked right next to you, so I was appreciated as well. And James told me he's an expecting father. So in February,
awesome.
he and his wife are expecting their first child. So congratulations to him. But James, looking forward to a great season. But that'll wrap it up. We got plenty to do here over the next few weeks. So we'll be back tomorrow to talk about Media Day and practice number 3.